I have two gentlemen to give us some reactions and their own view on what's been going on at City Hall. And it apparently is something that has been a long time coming. And just to add some of, let's call it seasoning to that story, there was drama, of course, when pepper spray was used to kind of get those who were in her office to leave. And this is how it played out. It's quite hilarious. So let's get that seasoning. She came prepared and she was armed. And as we were watching this, Arnold Maliba, public policy analyst, welcome back. We were here last week discussing other developments, but there's never a dull moment here in Kenya and a lot to commentate on. Thank you for joining us this morning. And we have MCA for the Ngando ward in Dagoretti South constituency. That is Peter Wahinya. Thank you for joining us. I'll first ask you, where were you when all this was happening?
I was actually in the center of that whole saga. And this is really what happened yesterday.
Right.
In fact, if you look at the clip, you'll see me somewhere in the background. But then again, you know,
you're one of those who wanted to eject her.
We may not necessarily use the word eject, really. We had proceeded to our office to make a request.
Okay.
That you know, she leaves without any showdown, without any hiccups and so forth. But you see, any scenario where you have more than 1, 2, 3 people, when you're talking about a group of many people, not everybody will go there diplomatically. Other people obviously will express themselves a little loudly, and therefore you end up with a scenario like you saw. But our initial intention was to make a request that she leaves because we had impeached her as far as we're concerned. And therefore, you know, if there was anything to do with her coming back to the office, it was supposed to have been, people should have sat down and talked about it.
Right.
You know, we expected that her first order of business, since we impeached her, was to call for a kamkunji, which is a common thing within our politics.
Okay.
So that we can have a session whereby we can discuss and even understand her court ruling. Because you see, the court ruling had not even been served to us. So rather than do that...
So you did not recognize a temporary hold
we have no quarrel with recognizing court orders.
Okay.
That we have no quarrel. Unfortunately, we hadn't been served with it. It had not been presented in the county assembly.
All right.
So for her to be
even though she says she got it last week.
Even though she said she got it at some point.
Okay.
And our imagination and our thinking is that it came way after we had already transacted the impeachment process.
Yes. As you were watching this first, just an initial reaction from Arnold. There was the comment there. You said you have to admire, you know, her posture and how calm she seemed. But you also said she's quite mischievous, having had that pepper spray. But how it played out from your perspective, what did you have to say initially?
Well, you must actually say that, number one, I think she slept through the revolution. It's almost impossible to be a CEO and allow the board to kick you out almost 100% after being with them for about a year. There's no CEO worth their weight in gold who would allow that to happen. That almost 90% of MCAs did that and she didn't know. Let's just say she slept through the revolution.
Right.
But that was so wrong for her, especially as a politician. And she even says that she did not know that that was going to happen. And how it played out was typically Nairobi. You know, she comes up and one thing was very mesmerized about her is that she remained calm throughout. There was no vein on her face. There was no emotions. She was actually smiling. as in, that is composure. Under such like pressure, that is great composure. You give her that.
Some composure to admire.
Yeah, you have to admire that. But then the other MCAs on the other side also, a little bit of played into her trap, you know, like
yes.
seeming very composed, and they're throwing all manner of tantrums. But you see, that is the beauty of democracy.
Yes. But
The liberties to do that, honestly, you might not agree with the way they did their business, but you must defend their right to do so.
yes, and there's a picture going around, and you can confirm this because you were one of those who had gone to, as you say, ask her to leave office, and we'll get to the politics of that because of the order that is currently there. But there are those who seem to or are said to have been somewhat, let's say, charged before they went to her office. Can you confirm this? The picture of those who are in a lounge having a drink or two.
No, that is actually false, really, because when we initially, by the way, before we walked to our office, we had the same thing I'm saying, the Kamkunji business, an informal gathering of all of us, and we discussed in a very cordial manner. And when we are exiting that room where we were discussing that matter, we left in a file, a proper file, well organized and so forth. The noise that comes in, and which is really accepted in a scenario where you have many people anyway, and you know that is expected because some people really express themselves a little differently. And what you can see, what some of my colleagues were pretty loud. Well, probably it's because of the anger they've had, because you know it is. Madam Elachi has been quite arrogant, really. You know, the arrogance has been our biggest problem, because just like I'm saying, really, she should have made some consultation prior to coming back, even if she doesn't speak to all of us. The leadership of approximately 5 people, 6 people.
Yes.
Call the leadership at some point, even in the office. Have a session and a discussion prior to you occupying the office. And coming with the security, she had come there with the OCS of OCPD and OCS from Central Police, and a whole contingent of police and police officers. That means from the very outset, she had actually planned to actually force her way in. So really, there's nobody drunk, no nothing, because when we were meeting, where we were meeting, nobody had drunk. In fact, we had no clue that she was in the office. We learned about her being in the office the minute we began to talk about the matter.
Okay.
And initially we had gone to discuss about the court order. We wanted the leadership, which is led by Mr. Nguyo, to give us a briefing of, because by that time I think Nguyo, we did not know whether Nguyo had already seen the court order. So we wanted to understand it as a collection of the MCAs. Okay. And then we discussed as a house how to proceed post the court order. Mm-hmm. But then now, even before we came to that subject, the lady had already stormed in. And she had come with all the manner of ways of coming in with the police and what have you. So that is where we said, no, before we can talk about anything, she needs to leave that premises so that we discuss and then agree whether, if the court order is there, it exists, now officially served to us, certainly we'll allow her to come back, because we have absolutely no intention.
Wouldn't there have been a different way? Because you see the optics of it, her actually leaving the office, and what message it sends out. Isn't there a different way, in your wisdom, as an MCA, as one of the county assembly members, of approaching and communicating with the office to at least serve you with the order that you were talking about within the Kamukunji?
Yes. There is a way. The assembly, all you need to do, any court orders are served to the clerk.
Okay.
Right now, we have an acting clerk by the name Nancy. And all the orderlies of the court need to do is to come and serve to the clerk, really. And the clerk will disseminate that information all the way down.
And this was not...
And this had not happened.
Because
if we had a court order, I can assure you, Mark, we would have honored it and respected it to the hilt. There is nothing like that that come to us.
Okay.
So that's where the problem was.
As you hear this, Arnold, I mean, is there a lot of... is there some ingenuity in how it played out?
Well, to expect that it would have happened differently is also not being real. Knowing too well that this is Nairobi, everybody was out there to show, this is a word I wouldn't use, but there was a measuring of something between the two sides, because she shows up and you realize that she was armed. even in her small, subtle ways, she actually had pepper spray. You can actually see her testing. You know, like you cock a gun and you are like preparing, and whoever comes in, the first person will be doing that.
Yes.
The MCAs who actually showed up and did that drama are actually few. They weren't the 100.
Exactly.
He might not deny or accept that they had some fuel to ensure that they do these things. But in public spaces, in political spaces,
Yes.
this thing is quite common. That there's quite a number of guys who are not able to do high noon kind of stuff without necessarily having some layer of power to power them through such like an activity. So the selfie photo with some Jack Daniel and some White Cup, we cannot deny or also confirm,
yes,
but it's not so far from the truth, especially what happens within political spaces.
Yes.
So the MCAs wanted to show the speaker a little bit of the fear of God. You know, he's just said here that she's been so arrogant. So that is the problem.
Right.
Yeah.
And then kind of show her who's actually boss here.
Who is actually the boss here. And the truth is that what the MCA is actually not saying is that the speaker cannot wholesomely be at fault without the County Assembly Service Board. They have got their representative in that board.
Yes.
And if that board, if they've got any problem, actually it literally falls on that board.
Yes.
So first of all, they should be kicking out their other MCAs who are in that board.
Right.
They should actually be calling for the disbursement of that board and reconstituting it. Otherwise, taking care of the speaker alone is not true.
It almost looks like a witch hunt.
As in, it's not really true. Elachi cannot act alone. It's not possible
Yes.
that he will go around and circumvent the County Assembly Service Board in all those things they are throwing around.
And the service board having their representatives.
And it has their representatives,
Yes.
not one. The other thing is that how a county assembly will operate and the county service, like any other board, the County
Yes.
Assembly Service Board is a negotiated space. She doesn't have all the votes.
She actually doesn't.
She doesn't have all the votes. So
Yes.
the people in that board
Yes.
should be answerable to the MCAs. What probably I would ask him, having known him from another life, would be if they consulted their members, because that has not shown up anywhere.
Yes.
If they ever asked for audience with the County Assembly Service Board, because some of those things like trips, and let's get it. You know, Kenyans out there will get very jittery about an MCA asking for a trip. We do not elect these guys to just sit here. They also need to benchmark once in a while. They need to get best practices elsewhere. And asking for a trip is not like they're asking for the moon. Let's be real. So those are issues they should have really addressed with the board, but they have not done. So in my thinking, you know, corporate politics is not different. Even Steve Jobs was kicked out of Apple at some point.
Yes.
From an institution he formed by a board he brought on board. So it's not any different.
Let's
See,
look
the-
at the
the
charges
biggest-
then
yeah.
that you claim are against her, that you're putting against her in the
In fact,
impeachment.
that is, thanks for the question, really, because even Arnold has touched on the County Assembly Service Board. The biggest problem we are having is not that she has the entire power to control the County Assembly Service Board. Her problem is that she makes changes. That is, once the meetings have been held and resolutions have been passed to the County Assembly Service Board, the communication as to the findings of the County Service Board is usually done by the Speaker. For example, she recently, we made some changes because our clerk and his deputy and a few other officials were taken to court. And the court ruled that they should not come anywhere near the assembly because of the investigations that are ongoing. Now, so the County Assembly Service Board sat down to bring in people to act in their position. And the person who was given that responsibility of the deputy clerk, somebody called Castro, within our assembly, it was passed and minuted, and even the minutes were circulated, and we all saw everything. The actual communication so that this can be gazetted, the name of Castro had already been changed, purely done by the Speaker herself. So usurping the powers of the County Assembly Service Board is the problem.
Okay.
So
This is
she-
one
she-
example that
yes.
is put out, but something else that's in the story,
Yeah.
and you could clarify this, is fraudulent awarding of tenders.
Yes.
And again, with such a charge, as Arnold rightly puts it, she wouldn't be the only one with sway on such an issue.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what examples do you have or evidence do you have
The issue that is coming about the tender business is the story about the house of the speaker, which was supposed to be bought.
Okay.
And from what is making rounds, these are not things I can confirm, I must confess, but what is making rounds is that she was, she had intentions of convincing people who are participating within the tendering process to give it to a company that is associated with her husband.
Okay.
But to be honest, these are not really factual per se. I can't sit over here and say this is it.
The issue of misappropriation
that's the reason why we
of
have
funds?
courts here, isn't it?
Yes.
Because in the county assembly, by the way, for us to be impeaching the speaker, we simply need to have indications. We are not a court of law where we must prove things beyond any reasonable doubt. Ours is, the minute you become arrogant, for example, is not a crime. But the minute you can't put us together, your management of the county assembly is wanting, because you are usurping powers here and there. You can't bring a cohesive relationship among members. All these constitute.
Would it also be right to say then she's not quite towing the line? Because if you're able to impeach her then on such perception, she's not towing the line.
Certainly she's not. I'll give you an example, for example.
Yes.
We attempted to impeach a while ago. I think it's probably maybe about 3 weeks or thereabout. And we had a session, sat with her, with our leaders and everybody, and we decided to pardon the lady. And we called it, we solved that problem and it was behind us. But the minute we then again came back to say we are going to impeach her, which is in writing to her, rather than come back to us again and ask, members of the county assembly, really, what have I done again? She chooses to travel all the way to Mombasa so that we don't serve her. And she goes to a certain forum, something to do with arid and semi-arid agricultural forum in Malindi, all purely aimed at making sure that we don't serve her. And in any case, Mombasa is only, 1 hour by air to come back over here?
45 minutes.
We have already told you that tomorrow we are going to have an assembly where we are going to impeach you. She knows very well in the steps that we proceed with in the impeachment process. One of the steps is to give her audience so that she is able to communicate to us and tell us all these things. She knows all this, but she never came.
Let me have Arnold comment on this. Is it concerning to you then that someone not towing the line is grounds for impeachment? She could be effective as a speaker, but she's not towing the line, and that word in itself, or that phrase, towing the line, has a lot of weight to it.
Yes. I'm thinking, number one, she cannot be effective as a speaker and not be able, quote unquote, to toe the line. We must actually be honest and tell people out there that in political spaces, the same way within corporate spaces, right, a CEO and the board must always find a way, because her bosses, the board is actually, the County Assembly Service Board is actually a very small representative to help manage the assembly. Mm-hmm. And what comes out here, I want to say this has nothing to do with her way, or probably if she's effective or not. It's just, it started immediately how she even got the job in the first place. That the process is out there in the law, but we never follow it. That MCAs, and he might not be confident enough to speak here, are imposed on people who become speakers by their party leaders. Very few, either the speaker in county assemblies, yet there is a process there on how you end up being a speaker. Okay. So you are supposed to apply, and then the MCAs need to come. True. But these guys literally had a call. They were called and told, you vote in so-and-so. So anybody else who was applying for that job was wasting their time. The same thing happens in so many other places where the party does not have sway. Then the governor has got the power. I will give you somebody who will help me work. So from the very beginning, they are working with, there is no understanding. And playing ball here in corporate governance, one of those things, like I've said, the space, the speaker and the MCAs and even the County Service Assembly Board, including the executive on the other side, is negotiated space. It's very negotiated space. There is no, it's not geometrical. People have to find a ways of coexisting. Okay. And in this case, what has she denied these people that they are not saying? They've only mentioned trips. what politicians will not tell you and come out, very few of them are able to say that, is that they are normally ATMs. And guys are putting in a little bit of passwords here by praising them and trying to get money. So MCAs have got their own trouble. And the other challenge is, as much as Governor Sonko wants to say he's not part and parcel of this issue, Governor Sonko has brought MCAs so close to him. That shouldn't be the case. They cannot even oversight Sonko. That is why when everybody was throwing stones against the governor, no one remembered that we've got a county assembly that should also be taking some blame. When Nairobi goes down, these are the guys who pass plans. These are the guys who pass the budget. These are the people who have to do oversight. Yet everybody is throwing stones at the governor and no one asks questions about the MCAs. And they keep quiet. So the only time you see them coming up strongly is about their own interest, of which we'll say, as a leader, little bit of this, the speaker has lost a step or two. She can walk back. Her problem is not legal. Her problem is leadership and political. She can walk back. These guys just want to teach her some fear of God, like I said. If she goes back and listens, they can get around. But what we will actually be pushing them, if they were able to push Sonko the way they have pushed the speaker, then Nairobi would be a different place. These guys and the senator are not different.
Yes.
The senator is also just good. Senator Sakaja is all over, just feeling good, taking good photos, doing a lot of very good PR, and he cannot oversight the governor here, yet he is the MCA number one, by the way. The senator should be MCA number one.
All right. In your view, nothing unbecoming as to how they went about it.
Number one, like I said earlier on, before we talk about anything unbecoming, let's look at systems.
Okay.
Organizational development systems and structures in place. The County Assembly Service Board, I am almost sure it has not been trained. They do not even understand their role.
Okay.
The fights in the County Assembly Service Board is what is causing what is happening today. Because if the Service Board was effective in the first place, all the challenges they are saying would not occur. Two, are the MCAs themselves, besides knowing that kazi yao ni kutetea watu, do they really know other things and how to engage properly? If they show up, and these things, I know people out there love frowning when people do things like team building.
Yes.
But did you guys ever do a team building between yourselves, the county assembly, the speaker? Do you ever do such?
Yeah, those ones were done initially at the very beginning.
Did they work?
Yes.
In my opinion, as a leadership person, I'll tell you it failed. Because if it's barely a year and they are fighting. So what are the results?
Yes.
The results haven't been there. So we can be very easy. It will be very easy for us to point fingers at MCAs. And by that I need to point out this. No one wins elections in this country who is a fool. It's so easy out there for people to try and say MCAs are probably stupid, they don't think properly. No one can win an election in this country if he is stupid. No one. You can't even win a cattle dips election if you are less than sub-intelligent. You will not win. So we have got proper guys in there. What is lacking is capacity. Two, we also have got issues around management. Jubilee has failed. If Jubilee give these guys a person they can't work with, if, for example, and you actually will also realize that the speaker has got a little bit of some high ground she lives on.
Yes.
There is where she is and then there is where the MC is. Like you saw on air saying that Mkubwa amepiga na amesema watu wote watoke.
That is also,
you know that is your funeral. You're talking about your funeral and you're telling some guys that there is an angel somewhere who has said, you guys have to wait, this funeral will have to wait.
Yes.
She should have taken charge as the leader of the county assembly.
Yes. If you look at it, the arrogance that I'm referring to.
So,
it's been,
where my relatives come from, they say that you normally make noise to, or rather you will pass a little bit of some warning to the mongoose for coming and taking your chicken, and you also talk to the chicken. You ask it, what was it doing there at that particular time? So there is issues on both sides. But for me, they are small, petty issues.
Right.
But those small, petty issues are actually what make big rifts. So literally, the MCAs need to make their case in a constructive way. The speaker on the other side needs to stop acting saintly and speak to these people.
In your view, then, the issue of misappropriation of funds, fraudulent awarding of tenders, the first class flying, that's neither here nor there. It's really about the arrogance.
Well, they are also
when you're being
anomalies.
unfair
They are
with
also anomalies. They are part of the process, because really without that, again, you know, we can easily correct the arrogance, for example. That's not a big problem.
Okay.
But this arrogance in itself, what it yields at the end of the day is a usurping of authority, and therefore doing certain things which are illegal in nature. For example, you can't possibly use the government money to go and receive a honorarium degree. I mean, things about your own personal
Is that what you're saying
development,
has
really.
happened?
Yeah. This is the information that we have.
That you
right?
have.
Yes, which we...
Even this issue of the first class flying.
First class, they're all there. These are things we have. The documentation is available to us.
In her defense, she says she has a condition.
Well, she has irrespective of whether it's a condition, you see, the issue is that she can't travel. First of all, it needs to be confirmed that she went for medical. Because really what we have with us is non-medical. It has things to do with facelifting business in respect to, you know, what women usually do to beautify themselves. That is the information that we have.
That she traveled for that.
Exactly, that is travel for that, and many other things. The Dubai travel, the American travel to Dallas, where she used 600,000 Kenya shilling, traveling first class as opposed to traveling the economy, which is what the government officials have been asked to do in light of saving money for the government. So we have all this collected together. But in there is the big story of arrogance at the end of the day. You see, Arnold has said something very important here. Elachi was actually brought to us, granted, but not through coercion. She was not forced on us, no.
She wasn't imposed on you.
The party, which is Jubilee, we adopted a certain mechanism which is called distribution of seats to various areas. If you've listened to our leaders, the president and everybody else, we wanted to bring everybody on board. So we have positions that are available to us, yes, by virtue of the fact that we had numbers.
Okay.
But we didn't want to go through the ordinary elections where anybody wins. So we brought Elachi here so that we can bring a lady, for example. We brought Elachi here so that we can bring again somebody from another part of Kenya. Took the speaker in the Senate, again somebody from another section. So it was a negotiated arrangement. And we all picked Elachi wholeheartedly.
Negotiated or just awarding your cronies?
Not crony.
That's what happens.
Spread. I agree that is within people's thinking at a certain quarter. But really, but otherwise, we negotiated it and we appreciated and brought on board.
Okay.
You heard what Arnold has just said. Your clips are actually showing Elachi yesterday saying that get everybody out of here in that saga where you saw that commotion. Yeah. Get everybody out of here because she has received a call from high powers. I mean, really, you need to underscore the word arrogant again and again and again. Yes. These are the things we are saying. Rather than simply come down to earth, come to the level with the members of the county assembly, discuss issues that are concerning them. If you've gone to acquire a degree here, and you've come back from Dubai, for example, and you spent 550K, and we feel that that was an anomaly. Really, if we are working together and we discuss, we can easily say return the money. Some of these things are not really cast in stone. There are changes that you can make as you move along, particularly if it is realized that she actually never knew that she was committing a crime or an anomaly. But that she won't do. Even right now, she has her fists clenched,
She's on the
ready to fight. There is nowhere she has come to us and said, people, members of the county assembly, please let's have a sitting. What exactly is this that you really think that I have done that I need to either undo, and moving forward I need to stop doing? That hasn't come from
basically her. Get the feedback from you. But for the Nairobian who feels then they need better services for themselves on a daily basis, then if this is a speaker who is somewhat subdued and perhaps she needs to run things in an effective way and sometimes not give you MCAs what you want, then would she be someone who is manipulated?
Well, first of all, members of the county assembly are not interested in anything that is not entitled to them.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That
don't
statement is heavy.
give us anything
that
we're
is
not
not
interested.
entitled
Why do you say it's heavy? Let me hold you on that point. Let me hold you on that point as you continue. Why do you say it's heavy?
First of all, I'd like us to imagine this, that people who last year were campaigning sitting on motorbikes now can no longer sit in the economy because they have got medical conditions. Where were those medical conditions when they were riding motorbikes looking for votes? Where were those medical conditions? You know, and a seat, you've been in a plane. A seat...
Mostly economy.
Even an economy class seat is way bigger than a motorcycle. And I can tell you, both the people I have seen say they need first class, so business class, are honestly people I have seen. You can actually go online and look for photos. You'll see them on motorbikes, and they never died. They looked for votes. They went around Nairobi. True. They were all over, hanging on roughshod trucks, looking for votes. They never died. But now that they have actually won, they have got medical conditions that cannot allow them to sit on a, to actually be part of a seat that is slightly bigger than what I'm sitting on now. Those are jokes and very bad jokes.
But why do you say that
so
statement,
on
MCAs
entitlement,
are not interested or, looking at anything that is not entitled to them?
Yes, because that is what they are not saying. And yesterday, but they say that two people say the truth, an angry person and a drunk one. I don't want to say that those who were making noise yesterday were drunk, but there were elements of truth that showed up yesterday. You can actually see the clip. Those guys talking about, I was denied a trip, she did this to me. So MCAs are entitled to some of these things. What we need to actually look back, and if he's good, he will actually tell us, how many of them have traveled? How many times has there been a budget set aside for them probably to reach out to their people, issues around public participation? Do they have a free hand? Do they have a voice in how the county assembly is running? How do they get, and I'm not talking about salaries here, because the salaries, they know automatically that works for them. So what normally brings issues in most boards, especially within government settings, and even in the assembly, is allowances. And allowances can only be triggered by activities. So if you are the only one, like they're saying, yesterday that lady was saying, that Njambi MCA, nominated MCA, saying that she denies us everything, but she puts all money on herself. And I know from where an MCA comes from, even 5,000 shillings can actually do something in a ward. Those are five young people you have sorted, and they at the mechanics of doing politics. So what they actually are fighting for is probably more space. And I know they've been talking amongst other MCAs in other areas. Other speakers are treating them well. The governors have ensured that they are taken care of well so that they can do their mandate properly.
When you hear MCA Peter Wahinya say, we want the speaker to come to us and ask us, what have we done wrong?
Yes.
In that same sitting or session, is there a conversation of what do you want?
Yes. That conversation, like I said, she needs, this whole drama was that she either refused to play ball or if they knew that they are unable to take her out due to party structures or the politics around that, was that they wanted to, little bit of, I don't know how to put it, but kwa Kiswahili kumshtua kidogo, so that she gets some bit of fear and she can play ball. So I know it is a dangerous trend, but it should never have gotten there. Like I said, Elachi slept through the revolution.
Yes. Okay.
Because she should have been able to manage MCAs. And it's about interests here. Let's get real. The interests of the MCAs. And here we are going to talk about leadership and management, the way it's supposed to play out.
Correct.
Yes. And just hold you on that point. I'll let you respond as you continue with this conversation on the issues, the administrative issues of the Nairobi County Assembly. We're just getting information here that the Migori Governor, Okoth Obado, has reported to the DCI in Kisumu for questioning over the murder of Sharon Otieno. This happened last week on Monday, and the investigations are continuing, and everyone has been asking, where is Governor Okoth Obado in all this drama that is unfolding and the details that are emerging. And we also know that Okoth Obado's PA is going to be arraigned today in Homa Bay at the Homa Bay High Court, and Bernardo Joang will give us more details. But as we are receiving some details here is that Okoth Obado has presented himself to the DCI in Kisumu for questioning over the murder of Sharon Otieno, a story that we'll keep our eyes on, and we'll cross over to Homa Bay as soon as Bernardo Joang has an update for us. Yes, you were responding to what he brought up, being real, and the politics of running the the county assembly. And at first you were saying we want nothing more than what is entitled to us.
Yes, and we want nothing more than what is entitled to us is one. And we certainly are not interested in participating in an illegality. That we will not do. See, people forget at the end of the day that we are a government entity, and at the end of the day, those bodies that control the EACCs of this world, the the director of criminal investigation and so forth, are all entitled to come in and out of our place as they desire. So as members of the county assembly, we are alive to the fact that illegality is something we are not going to entertain. So when we sit with Elachi, really, we are making normal demands that don't do this and don't do that, because we think that is not a good thing to do. Don't travel this class in the plane and so forth. Secondly, learn, develop an ability if you can, and if you have to go back to school, so be it, so that you develop management skills to be able to put us together, because she's our leader. And we must work together in the fight, to improve the Nairobians over here. And like Arnold says, we need to also, oversight the governor and his government for that matter. And Elachi is the one leading all these things. So she needs to develop that managerial skills to be able to put us here. For example, like now the issue of pepper spray. It's understandable she's protecting herself, but you can see the extent to which she was going. And yet nobody was going to harm her. There are many security organs.
That's not true.
That's the force that they were coming
scenarios,
Let me explain.
You can actually be hurt.
Let me explain. Yeah. There are very many organs. She's already called the police organ, and which to us is in order. Because really,
but it seems the police were unable to, get people to leave the office. Bring some order.
Not order.
Because they were dealing with honorable members. They would not have manhandled.
Are you by any chance saying that all these policemen, for example, who are here, they can see no threats yet? You see, when there's a threat, the policemen will react. Remember, they have everything at their disposal, including tear gases. They were there. But Elachi, all this contingent of the cops, Elachi chooses to bypass them and spray some pepper spray, surely. There's something that is not working over here. The OCPD actually walked in yesterday.
Yes.
He came and looked around. He was followed by very many policemen. We talked to him and told him here there is no threat of harming Elachi, for example. And as you can see, because when he walked in, he found others. So we told him these are the ones that are taking care of her already. So you really don't need to escalate the matter any further.
Some of the pictures that we have, I don't know if we can show. I mean, these were people who were trying to get her furniture out. Are you telling me that there was no physical attempt?
That is okay.
There wouldn't have been a physical attempt to get her out of her office? To
touch her, no. But for example, Mark, the chair was actually being removed. Okay, like I said, really, in a group of 122 people, you will not miss one or two people who express themselves a little differently. Because, for example, the lady you mentioned, her name is Jambi. To her, she strongly believes, so do we, that Elachi should not be sitting in that office. Sitting literally means that maybe if we remove the chair,
yes.
See, that's the thinking.
Right. And Arnold, you're saying, in response to the issue of the pepper spray right there.
For one, Elachi is entitled to
protect herself.
To private, to personal security. Yes. She can protect herself. This pepper spray thing for me is very little mischief, and we should not dwell on that.
Yes.
And we have seen people in such scenarios being hurt, seriously injured. This is a political platform. You cannot say this is child play. Again, I just need to remind Mheshimiwa here that the police who are there treated Waheshimiwas with kids' gloves. if we know how they deal with other people in such like a scenario, it would have been bad. So he cannot say, because again, when the officers are dealing with a little bit of people who are high in society, they exercise some restraint. And during that restraint, you like that lady, for example, if she would not have been restrained, it would have been something different.
Right.
If you have seen how our politics work out. So for me, on that pepper spray thing, that's a little mischief and not so big.
Have you asked yourself why it is the lady? I don't know whether you've looked at it keenly.
Yes, it's ladies who actually...
It is the ladies who are actually doing what you can see there.
That is strategy.
Because at our meeting...
It seemed very well
planned.
At our meeting, no, really, well, it could be strategy, yes. But at our meeting, when we said, let's go and speak to her so that we urge her to leave, we actually sent the ladies. The men are following for purposes of participating by watching.
That's a reinforcement, not watching. That's a reinforcement.
I can assure you, not a single human being, Mark, laid any hands on that on Madam Elachi, or even made an attempt that I can actually touch her, leave alone even shake her a little.
Even when she is said to have gone into a toilet and she wanted her to come out.
That can't happen in the assembly. Never.
Well, in Nairobi Assembly,
in Nairobi
worse
Assembly,
can happen.
We've seen stuff.
Worse
we've
can
seen
happen.
stuff happen.
No, that can happen. Worse can happen in the Nairobi County Assembly.
Elachi is actually enjoying that. That's the fact
we've
that
seen chairs fly in certain settings.
But the fact that but then again, the chairs were flying a little bit. I think it's in the old dispensation.
Yes.
Today, with the assembly and the standing orders and rules and regulations that govern us, it is slightly not very easy. Yeah.
We certainly hope it doesn't get to that. Yes.
Probably what Mheshimiwa should be good enough and tell Kenyans, precisely besides these arrogance, your rights and entitlements, which is actually well understood, is there any other thing, is there anyone else trying to pass a message to somebody else? Because remember in that shouting yesterday, we were told clearly that you cannot organize. In Kiswahili huwezi panga governor wetu hapa hivi au wenye wanakuambia kwingine. So, and we have seen the kind of politics between of course kitaeleweka, tanga and then tinga.
The governor is somewhat taking a back seat on this.
And the governor, we know the guy who, the easiest way to see Nairobi's governor is simply to put up a fire and the governor shows up. But there was fire at City Hall and the governor somehow is very relaxed. So why does it feel like he's one of those guys watching a show that is well directed, probably from an end he knows?
The strings being pulled here.
Actually, from a government, when we were discussing the impeachment of Elachi, like I said in our Kamkunji initially, before we actually made it happen, we also discussed Sonko. But I can tell you there was no shred of an idea that we were going to impeach him. The impeachment of Sonko is a business that was never transacted. In fact, I don't even think we have never imagined it.
But you see,
even imagining we have not.
You see, how will you discuss probably one of your own?
Yes.
As in, if 102 MCAs impeached the...
Actually, we'll say 103 out of 107.
Oh, the senator.
Yes.
How then do we also not think that probably the governor was the 103rd one or the 104th one?
Who is
because again,
the machination?
within, if you understand corporate politics, especially from where they are, one or two do not show up one day and they have got one mind. They were organized. They have got a leadership. Of course, he'll tell you it's the leadership of the house.
Yes.
But they were organized. There was just some proper organization and working around.
Yes.
That organization is what is still surprising us, because 102 or 103 in Nairobi is one too large a number.
Yes.
Who organized that?
There's no orchestration. There's nothing bigger than just the arrogance.
You see what Arnold is doing, and I'll give it to him, is that Arnold has refused to accept that the leadership, and I'll be very honest, the leadership that we have, the leader majority minority, and also the whips that you have, these guys are organizers, my friend. And I'll tell you another thing that is helping. This so-called handshake at the very top, remember,
he's working at the county assembly.
Has come all the way down
to the county.
This is,
well, you're not shaking hands,
originally without the handshake, we probably would have had some hiccups and maybe we would not have been able to organize ourselves. But when we are working together with both political divides, my friend, there is nothing we can't achieve.
Well, it's manifested in a different way, the handshake that you say, because there's a lot of pepper spray and chairs being thrown out of offices and a lot of heckling. So it's manifested in a very interesting way at the county assembly. And on issue or suspicion of perhaps there would be security concerns for Michael Oyamo if he were brought to Homa Bay. It was anticipated he would be there by 9 a.m. And given the emotive nature of this story, definitely something that could be expected, could be the case, and that's why he hasn't been presented in court yet. But we'll get an update on that and whether this means he's a free man, but definitely being a person of interest on this case, that would not be the case, as you would imagine, the security concerns around him as well, and him being free just on that account of the lapse of the 24 hours isn't reason enough given the sensitive nature of this case that is being handled. We'll get more updates on this. And perhaps even as we continue, we'll have a response from Arnold Maliba. And perhaps if you would, Mheshimiwa, just to give your response on this as we continue on the very same. Actually, just let's get some initial reactions as this unfolds. The face of it, of course, some suspects are in custody, but a lot is left to be answered.
I'm thinking we should actually be at a point where we look at it for what it is. That a crime was committed, a murder most foul was committed, and what we are being treated to is a lot of stories, and like so many high-level murders, or other murders that are related to people in power, it's taking a lot of twists. But then at the end of the day, we must accept that a life was unjustly taken away. A murder so gruesome was committed, and we almost saw it coming because there was a report of Barak having been abducted, and then it was there, and people took it so lightly, and then it went off, and then when it came out, now we are seeing the gravity of the matter. I'm thinking probably we are going to be treated to some deep drama going forward, but the agencies that are in charge of security, the security agencies, I saw the DCI the other day saying that the murderers left a lot of clues everywhere. They were so sloppy in their work, and we hope that we are going to see people apprehended very fast. We are going to see even convictions, because what happens in such like cases is that they then take so long, and then people lose interest, and we are a country that has got very short memory and concentration on an issue. So tomorrow something else will come up, and then we will forget that Sharon must get justice in her death. Of course, you are mourned how you lived, your epitaph is written on how you lived, but even in death, you deserve justice. So those are others are sideshows. Let us just ensure that she gets justice.
Right.
Because like I said, that was a murder most foul, so gruesome.
Yes.
And we must get to the deep of it.
MCA Wahinya, you've heard many politicians speak and give their side of the story. And are they doing a disservice by throwing hints out there as to who might be involved in this while investigations are ongoing?
Well, I'll say yes and no, because the comments that are being made by politicians in respect to the fact that they are even accusing certain personalities in our society, to me, that I consider as wrong, because really you can't possibly say a certain governor has done this and that, and yet you haven't even done any investigation, and you have not even come up with any conclusion.
Yes.
So the accusation beat that is being spoken in the country, to me, that is really wrong, and it should be stopped as a matter of urgency. But the comments, a mere comment, somebody speaking in, like the ladies who've just spoken right now at Jivanji, where they are, clamoring for the speedy processing of this case by the DPP and the DCI. That to me is in order. So long as you don't make any accusations, I have got no quarrel with it. You see, as Arnold has said, a crime is a crime, and people must be punished irrespectively. To me, what my biggest problem is, yes, at some point, of course, it will be forgotten. Just like any other cases in the past, people have died mysteriously, and we've really never seen anything coming out of it. And this is going to be certainly another one. My biggest problem is that we don't seem to have a certain body in this country that continuously pushes the organs that we have created to make sure that the citizens get to know what is going on. When I'm talking, I'm thinking about the Ombudsman's office, for example. This body is supposed to have been a body that is representing the ordinary citizenry, so that a situation like this, it can keep questioning on behalf of the citizens. What happened to Sharon? At some point when we seem to be forgetting, Ombudsman's office should really never forget.
Even keep pushing, although there's, as we've witnessed in other cases, you know, a case is wound up real quick in the name of no evidence.
Yes.
Do you still think that they can continue pushing?
Yes, this is what personally I would think they should do. And I hope they've been given the necessary powers to be able to invoke other organs and even spend money, both internally and externally, to be able to put the DPP's office and DCI's and even the judiciary, to put them on their toes and to come up. You see, if the court, for example, rules that there is no enough evidence, the Ombudsman, as a body that is representing the ordinary citizens, it should be able to pick up that evidence at some point and probably bounce it off from another legal expert, so that we at the end of the day, Kenyans really conclude we have a closure in a particular matter. But when we are left thinking that somebody was paid money in the judiciary so that he can rule the way he did, or the so-called investigating officer, that, first of all, has become very notorious today.
Yes.
Investigating officers are the guys who are continuously being given money so that they don't investigate.
Yes.
And even when they do, they don't present that evidence before the court.
One of the other institutions, as you mentioned, Ombudsman, and put ourselves there, and that is the media fraternity, is to follow up on such stories, which is what we are actually vowing to do so, especially with this case of Sharon Otieno. But in the issue of public opinion, the court of public opinion, as you see what's happening right now, Jivanji, the protest, and we keep airing the pronouncements of various people on, on this case. And with such pronouncements, they name leaders who they feel are responsible. Are we doing a disservice as media?
Well, again, I will slightly differ with Mheshimiwa Peter for saying that people should not say what they're saying. Like I said earlier on, I might not agree with exactly what they say and how they say it, but the right to do so is enshrined in the Constitution, and it's one thing that makes democracy alive.
Okay.
So they're entitled to their opinions, whatever they're saying. The problem is that if you look at it from, even from an introduction to Intelligence 101, there are possibly 5 people who could have interest there.
Yes.
Of course, we pick whom we want and we can run with.
Yes.
So all those, it's the investigating officers who are going to sit on the ground, piece their evidence together and ensure who comes in. But then for what people are doing and then pushing for that for me is it's an important process in a democracy. It's also good to ensure that we have leaders coming out to ensure that some things are actually worked out faster. The problem is that as they do that, you will always want to ask, why have they not done the same? Today I actually have seen everybody is condemning the death of Sharon, and they should by all means.
Yes.
But we saw ourselves divided, and when Baby Mutinda was shot, we did not have, there are other people who said that was not important. When Msando died, we need to have, but there are these things, I have said on this show repeatedly before, that an injustice anywhere is an injustice everywhere. So what finds Baby Mutinda could easily find you some other day.
Yes.
And we need to actually stop being selective in the way we actually go out and do these things. I have seen some other people who were very silent when Msando died, when Baby Pendo was shot in Kisumu. Those are issues we are actually acting like we do not know they really exist.
Unfortunately, some of those took a political twist.
Yeah, they took, even this one has taken a political twist.
Yes.
So there is no difference.
In terms of whoever's being mentioned and
there is no difference between the death of Baby Pendo and Baby Mutinda and Chris Msando and that of Sharon. Impunity must be stopped at all levels.
Yes.
So let people express themselves. But as they do that, they also have got the legal responsibility
Yes.
coming with whatever they say, because it can be used against you in the court of law. Yeah, so even as they do that, they understand that. But let them air out, let there be pressure. That is the beauty of the democracy we actually took in. That you can actually protest for anything, that you can come out and speak out. And it will take me to these guys,
yes,
that as they come out and speak for what is their own, they should also be speaking loudly for what is for the people who send them. Because in Article 1, Article 1 of the Constitution, 3, where they get their initial power, that all sovereign power belongs to the people and it can be delegated, first of all, to the parliament and to the legislative assemblies, including theirs. So the power they have is also about the people. So as they speak about their interests, we will also like to see them come out more vocal and speak about the interests of the people of Nairobi. The people who send you there, by the way.
Yes. And we'll get to that, and we'll get back to the issue of, the administrative concerns within the county assembly, but I believe you want to weigh in on this issue of the Sharon murder and the investigations continuing. The DPP this past weekend said that there's a concern of the public court, opinion court, is giving undue pressure as investigations continue. And some would say in some cases this is an open and shut case in the court of public opinion, given what the politicians are doing.
Yeah, really, and that is why actually it is partly an illegality, really. Speaking about cases that are already in court is something that is prohibited, and the people who came up with that provision must have had a good reason for doing that, because it can easily sway the people in a direction that is really not.
But in a democracy,
Arnold but again, as Arnold says, yes, within a democratic environment, and that is the reason why personally I'm saying that, and I'm agreeing with Arnold that. Let the people speak. That is really not a problem, but they shouldn't make judgments. You see, we can speak and clamor for the case to actually proceed to its conclusive end, and we can insist the DPP does this and that, and the DCIs and so forth. But to really point an accusatory finger is where my concern is. That shouldn't, because like now, for example, in the case of the governor of Migori. Until the day the case is going to proceed to the very end, is the only day when we shall know the very truth of the matter. Now, if we do what
guys are only saying that he's a person of interest,
which is fine. It's saying that let him be investigated.
This issue is not yet in court. At least it's at the very initial level.
Yes.
We do not have everybody on board.
Yes.
This pressure is good.
Pressure is agreeable. That's what I'm saying. Pressure is good, really. But let me just ask you, and probably this I can ask Arnold. You see, the DPP at the very end of the day, no matter how much we speak out there, in the public and what have you, he will never take anybody to court unless he has sufficient evidence, or rather what he considers sufficient.
As evidence.
Because the judiciary will decide whether it's sufficient or not. He can't pick anybody.
We must actually
because
work.
Politicians spoke.
We must work with history as a hindsight.
Yes.
Since time immemorial, ever since I became an adult at the turn of the century, I have realized one thing. At least I had that we will leave no stone unturned. And that informs the pressure you see here. That we have been promised in the days of old about stones that will be left unturned, and not even a single pebble has been tossed over. So people are here just ensuring they are supervising. We the people. The Constitution, the preamble. We the people. And by the way, even the DCI is working on delegated authority. Otherwise, we as people can actually decide to investigate on our own and administer justice. But then according to what we have agreed in the Constitution is that we have administered and we are doing what is rightfully meaningful to us, or rather entitled to us, like you would say, that we putting pressure, asking questions, and they're also volunteering information. That is how to volunteer information. This year should not even be complaining, because you pick from what people are saying, and as a good investigator, you start drawing your graphs and just getting what works and what doesn't work. So for me, so long as you ensure that you are not slandering someone and you're not breaking the law, speak out. Speak out as much as possible.
Which is really something.
And push for investigations to really be
and that pressure should go on, because Mheshimiwa here is forgetting that some of those things things have happened in this country, and people are told, relax, we know what we are doing. when in real sense they don't know what they're doing. For example, today now everybody's speaking about the national debt. When just a few years ago, you will stand up to speak and you told, look up here, you know, we know what we are doing. We've got guys who went to IMA, who went to proper schools, they went to Harvard. So let people speak. We are not going to wait until tomorrow to say we wish we spoke.
Speaking,
let people speak.
There's a certain area, Mark, that personally I would like us to even go deeper into. As people are speaking, you see, the very heart of the matter, this is where the investigations, for example, are being done. And we know very well cases, Arnold, are usually lost at that level. At the investigating officer and the DPP too. I mean, we are not saying DPP is an angel.
That's
at
where
the
the
end of the
cases
day,
die.
it can be compromised. So at that point where the investigation is going on so that they proceed to court, who can examine for us this so that we know that this is beyond reproach?
Ourselves.
That is a part that we need.
Ourselves.
Yes, well, as a lawyer, for example, you're one of them. But you see, we should probably bring about, and that's why I mentioned Ombudsman's office.
Yes.
We should bring about a certain body that can go over there and check on behalf of the citizens that the real proper machinery of investigation was deployed and that it has gone to the very, very end, beyond which we can't do anything else. That confirmation at that level is what we lack here.
Okay.
Mark, there is an aspect to it that we probably might forget. That impunity has moved from Nairobi of old and gone to counties.
To the county level.
That part also must actually, we must also look at it, that we devolved, even as we
Even
devolved
impunity.
resources, we also devolved our bad manners from Nairobi to the counties, because you realize there's a lot of Nairobi type of drama, Nairobi of old. You know when I mean Nairobi, I'm meaning the national government of old. The kind of stuff that used to happen, that governors cannot take criticism. For example, they beat up. We've seen it here, even here in the city today, that if you criticize the governor, you are beaten up. You remember the issue about the hotel Boulevard, where the former NCBD chairperson was being beaten up and roughed up. That story somehow has died. You realize why this pressure must actually be so high up there?
Yes.
Somehow that has gone away, and we do not know what happened to those cases. No one even remembers if those cases are going on or not. But that is impunity. So down there, I think we also need to have this kind of pressure going on, and people just realizing that it's not just good things that came with the devolution.
Yes.
Some of our bad manners too
Trickle down to the
devolved,
county
yes,
level.
yes.
Yes. So let's get back and just the latest update on this in terms of the latest information. New information that we're getting is Migori governor is with the Kisumu DCI, who of course is questioning or grilling him over the Sharon Otieno murder, and hopefully we'll be able to get something from Oko Kusa in Kisumu in terms of an update on this. But let's now just wrap up on what we were discussing earlier, and that is the administration of the county assembly within Nairobi. And you brought up something that was quite interesting. Yes, you've talked about arrogance, and it's been repeated over and over again. There are claims of fraudulent awarding of tenders by the speaker within the county, and then misappropriation of funds. And then there was this issue of her flying first class for personal issues, using, of course, the county resources. But above it all, you said it's arrogance and how she's been running business within the county for the last 1 year. But is there something else at play in the background? Are there other strings being pulled?
I really don't think there are any. I'll be very honest with you, because the only personality or people who would be pulling strings in respect to the Elachi saga would be at the president level, for example, and his deputy, or at the governor's level. And to be very honest, we haven't seen any of these two coming into play. They have given us a free hand.
So the governor is not in any way behind this?
The governor is absolutely not involved.
Okay.
Exactly what you've heard him saying in the media, and I think we saw it today morning, where he's saying that, he's even telling us that as members of county assembly, as we proceed with the impeachment, we must confine ourselves within the legal procedures and what is laid down within our standing orders.
He can't even come through and, you know, he's telling you to follow the law, which means, you know, you have to finish this job. He can't even come in for the speaker.
That I wouldn't really say that. I wouldn't really say that he's interested in seeing Elachi exiting.
But he's only advising you to follow the law.
To follow the law.
He's not even advising you to settle this issue amicably.
As you have suggested earlier, that you could actually call
he
and
hasn't
talk.
done.
Why is he not doing that?
And maybe I would
Is that an avenue or channel that you can pursue?
Very easily, yes. If our leadership, like I said, if our leadership were to, because we give them that mandate to think at a certain level on our behalf. So we are not again foreign to our leaders. If our leaders say the direction is this that we are going to follow, that's the direction.
Who are those leaders?
So,
The leader of the majority, leader of minority, chief whip, and his deputies.
Minority whip.
Yes, the whip, the whips, the majority and minority. This is our I'm talking about political leadership.
so to speak,
you're
they're the ones behind this impeachment.
I understand that.
Yes.
You know, what's still interesting is that Mheshimiwa Peter here says that the governor has only told them to follow the law.
And I know why.
Yet the governor is a peace-loving guy. He shows up to broker peace between warring factions. But in this particular one,
Yes.
the governor is only telling them, please follow the law.
And I know why, Arnold. I'll tell you, you see, and that's the reason why. Like you remember in my remarks earlier on,
Yeah.
I had said that we had attempted, actually, really, we were actually going to impeach Elachi about 3 or 1 month ago.
Yeah.
We had pushed all the way to the door. She was at the exit point, but we said, close the door, let her remain. And even many other occasions, we never went to the point where the media came and saw that we're actually impeaching.
Yeah.
The other small cases where we are contemplating.
At the point that you're at,
Yes.
is there going back?
Well, first of all, now the goose has been done what? Cooked?
Yes.
We've reached a point almost of no return. But let me not say that we can't revisit it. Because if I do that, then I'm speaking on behalf
Of so
of
many
my
people.
leaders.
Yeah.
And that I wouldn't do. Our leaders, at the end of the day, are the ones who will give us direction because we have given them the
And the
mandate.
leaders are
So
smart.
far, they're
Yes.
the ones who have been hell-bent on impeachment.
Well, no. The matter that has arisen
Okay.
in respect, and by the way, let me tell you, it is bi-directional, in the sense that even our leaders sometimes will receive information from us. Because when for example, she is behaving in an arrogant manner, she's behaving arrogant to a person, to a group of people, to a collection of, and so forth and so forth. So all this arrogancy is being picked up from all quarters, and it is culminating at the level of our leadership. So again, it is a bi-direction issue. So we also go to the leadership, and we
Let us
also
take
complain.
him back.
Okay.
I would like Mheshimiwa to go back to
Yes.
the issue of the County Assembly Service Board.
Yeah.
You were very non-committal when it came to speaking about your representation in there.
Yeah.
Because the CEO of that board is the
Speaker.
no, the speaker is the chair of that particular board.
Yes.
And
CEO is
then,
an outsider.
the CEO should be the person. The speaker is now. As in
No, that's
is-
the clerk.
The clerk.
The clerk is the secretary.
The clerk is the secretary,
Yes.
which essentially in all boards,
Yes.
that is the CEO in that
Yeah,
particular
well, okay,
setting.
agreeable,
in that particular
agreeable,
setting.
yes.
You guys are not saying anything about the secretary or the clerk, and
Yeah.
the role he plays in this.
Yes.
You are not coming out very clearly on the role of the County Assembly Service Board. And whereas your reasons could be justified, I'm trying to look at the mechanics and how this one can actually be made to work. Because your leadership is actually a good leadership.
Yeah.
Chege, the other guys, all brilliant guys, by the way. And that is why I said that in the County Assembly, there is no idiot in there. There is no single one person who does not understand what they are doing. They're very brilliant. And that is why they have actually sent him here. You've realized that the majority leader is missing, the minority leader is missing. Both the whips, Chege and the other guy, are also not here. But they've brought in a very eloquent guy to just pitch out and play cool politics. But inside there, guys actually, he looks like he's so cool, but the warrior guys have drawn their daggers.
Gets brutal.
So you guys, I want you to talk about the County Assembly Service Board, its role, and then the committees. Because again, we also, what are your committee, the leadership of the committees doing? Because the committee leadership in assemblies and legislatures is very, very important. What are those chairs
If
doing?
indeed the push is about the
Because
administration.
some of those challenges are
county
actually at the
assembly.
level of the chairs of
Yes.
committees. What have those guys done?
You see, this matter when the idea of impeachment was,
Hatched.
was hatched really. but many discussions, first of all, come into play. We have to have, first of all, let me answer you. You see, the County Assembly Service Board really is a management body.
Yes.
They play very little in respect to the politics of the day.
They play a lot.
But what about your
representative?
What about the appropriation
That
of
is the apex.
Yes.
Of how they you see, when you talk about management, that is the politics.
That's exactly. Actually, it's the management. It's an equivalent of the Parliamentary Service Commission.
So what responsibility do they
Their
have?
responsibility is management of the county assembly. Okay. Remember, you know, there's the money issue. There's passing of certain laws or certain the decisions, for example, to buy
So they should be held
the
culpable with the same demands
If
or
the
same
speaker goes,
charges that you put against the speaker.
If the speaker goes, the County Assembly Service Board must go.
Yes, yes, I agree with you.
She can't do anything in a vacuum. The framework within which she works is that board.
Yes, yes. If, for example, it was determined at the County Service Board, for example, that she should spend, say, the 550,000 to go to Dubai to pick a honorarium, whatever, then naturally we can revisit the matter of the County Service Board. But you see, that is not the case. You see, if it was the case, then Arnold I agree with him. Because really, if it is decided at this level, or even the traveling to America to spend 600,000 in a first-class ticket, if all these things is the County Service Board, then certainly we cannot vindicate Madam Elachi. But that is not the case.
All this happened without the service board.
Correct. And I even added
knowing about
exactly. I even told you.
Even the misappropriation.
Remember, I even told you another one.
Who allows
where
payments?
the County Service Board actually decided to bring in. They brought forward the names of the acting people, the people who are acting in the capacity of the clerk and his deputy, and it was discussed at the County Service Board level, minuted, and all of us actually read the minutes. But at the point of execution, to make it happen, the name of one person has been changed and replaced with another one.
Mheshimiwa is playing some very good things.
Highest level
the
of
person who does implementation, the person in charge of enforcing that is the secretary who is the clerk.
Yes.
Because when we talk about money leaving, who does the authorization?
You see,
who is that day-to-day person who ensures that the administrative part of things runs in the county assembly? The clerk.
You see, the clerk was missing. We are replacing the clerk and the deputy and other officials under them. Now, at that point in time, these people are inactive until they are gazetted.
Yes.
So the documentation that is going to then be used for purposes of gazetting is going to originate from the speaker, given that she's our leader. That document that she developed was bearing names other than the ones that were agreed at the County Service Board's level.
The people at fault here are the members of the County Assembly Service Board. It's impossible to divorce the speaker from the actions of the speaker.
Does she have free hand in everything?
No.
It's impossible to divorce the two.
She doesn't have that.
Yes.
They have to be discussed.
So if you're honest in this drive to impeach Elachi, the speaker, then in the name of better administration at the County Assembly, then as he pointed out, is she the only sole person to go?
I agree. I mean, if that's what I'm saying. If these matters were discussed at the County Assembly Service Board level, then obviously we cannot accuse her the way we are doing, because then we must then go back to the county, to the very origin.
Because there has been...
these things were not done at that level. That is where our problem is.
That's what I'm saying. There's something much more to this. Of course, the arrogance part of it is a serious issue, by the way, in management and leadership. So that is something that she can work on. But on the other aspect, them singling out Honorable Misuse Elachi and saying that she carries all the blame for things that are not going right. Is, in my opinion, dishonest, because she has got a batch of guys she works with, about 8 of them.
Yes, agreed.
What is the role of those guys in this mess?
Let me give you an example.
Until they came and delegated it to you. But have you realized that the guys at the County Assembly Service Board have come and delegated to you their problems at the board? And by this she was actually chairing a board meeting when all drama began, the initial one. I saw her say that this board, for me, is the deceased. Is it capacitated enough? Are your chairs, are your committees functional?
Committees are functional.
They're not. But if they were functional, we would never have gotten to this level of singling out one person.
Let me tell you, what the problem, one of the biggest problems we were having, like I said, is that changes, the rulings and the decisions are made at the County Assembly Service Board.
Yeah.
But changes are made thereafter. Let me tell you,
By one
if
person.
you send me Mark, probably at some other point, maybe I'll get the opportunity to bring this evidence to you. Chances are that the County Assembly Service Board actually made a ruling, or rather made a resolution, for Elachi to travel probably even to America, or probably even to go to
But she's
the
entitled
Dubai.
to some of those, like some of you are also entitled to some of those things.
What is authorized
Yeah.
by the County Assembly Service Board
Yeah.
is probably, you see, I don't want to say, conclusively that that's the case.
Yeah.
But you will discover that probably she was authorized to travel, yes. But upon the actual execution of her travel,
It wasn't done in
she
the manner.
Exactly.
Now
And
can-
why?
now can I ask
and
this?
why? Remember, she's in a position of authority.
Can I ask this?
Everybody more or
If,
less
for
works
example,
under her.
if,
So
for
if
example-
she coerced somebody,
Yeah.
or maybe influenced, because power is power, and power influences.
Yeah.
If she influences somebody who then released a first-class ticket, that's an anomaly.
If she gave you people your first class tickets,
Would you be okay with it? But then,
I told you categorically here a couple of minutes ago, we are not interested in partaking in an illegality.
If your
Absolute-
interests are taken
there's-
care
there's
of,
Let me-
interest.
will you care about
Let
what she
me
does?
help you, Arnold. Let me help you, Arnold. Even if I find my own clever mechanism of traveling that first class,
Yes.
even if I find it, and I go to America, for example,
Yeah.
somewhere down the line, I will pay for it because audits are there.
okay.
So me being a person of sound mind,
Yeah.
I'm able to reason easily and say, rather than do this and postpone a problem, let me just not do it now.
In
Is-
the same spirit,
Yes.
my question, and I'll still push this further, my question would be, we have seen the governor do some things that are not proper.
Yeah.
Why have you not in the same spirit,
E.g.
not pushed this?
E.g.
You will tell me Nairobi is running fine?
Well, it's improving.
No. Is it running fine or not?
100% I can.
there is another angle to this as well. And you talk about the arrogance, and yes, there's the issues, because if you throw it out to the public that she's flying first class, and in her defense she says it's about medical condition, people say that's ridiculous. Many people fly economy, and that shouldn't be her luxury. Then, of course, you'd have the public support and anger on your side.
Yeah.
But there's also the other angle that in the name of what you're calling arrogance, she has been a no-nonsense speaker who has tried to straighten things out. And in straightening things out, you become unpopular. Is she being punished for actually doing her job?
No, she's not been punished, really. Because there's one thing I heard people saying, that she called the DCI to come and investigate us, yeah? Or investigate the assembly generally in the way it is running, together with the EACC. That's not a crime. I mean, being concerned that there is an anomaly, please come, calling a body to come and help us. That's not a problem. And nobody is going to punish her for that, really. And if you can, if you look at the litany.
Is this the case that she actually called them into?
Well, there is talk within our circles that she actually did this. And like I'm saying,
Are the people happy?
it is not a bad thing.
Are people happy?
No, we see it's not us being investigated as an MCA.
Yeah.
She's calling the DCIs and ESCCs to investigate the runnings of the assembly, the procurement business that you said you mentioned, and that's a good. And if you look at the litany of accusations we have given her here, that doesn't feature, because to us calling anybody to come, and in any case the DCIs really does not need to be called. If there's, and even the Auditor General, for example, if they think that they need to audit anything, this is a public money and this is a public outfit.
Okay.
It can be audited at any time. And that's why there's nowhere we are accusing her of calling nobody. She can call anybody for all we care. We have no problem with that. We are very focused on exactly what her problem is. And that's the big one that is not in here is that arrogance that I told you. Her management as a politician managing the assembly is wanting, because we are fragmented like you've never seen before.
I mean, you talked about the team building and you said it worked. Clearly it
didn't
hasn't
work.
if you're
It didn't work.
fragmented.
It never worked.
But your concern on this, because there's some people who are actually saying Elachi is no nonsense, she is training people out, and that is not towing the line according to the MCAs, and that's why she's being impeached.
I would chuckle at that, because if it's no nonsense, I would want to see the results.
Yes.
For everything someone claims to, there must be a result to that end. I do not know how that strictness has actually delivered on the legislative role, how many bills are working out there. I know that Nairobi has got so many pieces of legislation that are yet to be brought to par to the Constitution 2010, 5 years since we got into devolution. There's so many things that need to be done right. So I'm yet to see the result of that. We should be seeing the results out of that. Where was she when Sonko was playing around here and everybody else was going everywhere complaining about the city stinking? Where was she as the leader of the legislature? She is the spokesperson for these guys, at least as an institution. She is the spokesperson. We seldom hear of her speaking about the affairs of the country and how the county is running. Yet she mans or she womans the other arm. So I do not see where that strictness comes from. At least I've not seen. There's that. What I'm actually seeing here that is double standard is that these guys are so vociferous when fighting for their interest, but they are quite very light when they fight for the interest of the people of Nairobi. Things are not okay in Nairobi. All of us agree to that. We have got red paint everywhere. They do not, and you see, like the people who manufacture vehicles here, you know, Tanzanians are buying their BRTs in Nairobi. These guys and Namata and other people, and they really don't care even about the new plan, for example. The county assembly, for example, how are you people ensuring that the money that JICA put in to ensure that the Nairobi Integrated Urban Master Plan works? It's none of your business. You guys are not pushing that. But now you are here fighting for your interests. The rest of us are actually going to watch, and at some point then, we might actually have the people's...
If you look at this, Arnold, actually, there's very little, in fact, all the documentations, if you have any, including the media and all these things that is playing today, it is very difficult for you to actually pick anything that has something to do with us fighting for anything that concerns us, really. I know you may have heard somebody saying that I didn't get a trip or I didn't get this.
I didn't get audience with her. Yes, someone else said they didn't get audience with the speaker. Yes.
Audience is good because I mean, if I can't get audience,
but honestly,
she's probably blocking me from talking to her because she has chosen that I'm not, probably on a camp. You creating camps again
she doesn't have a camp. You guys voted, all of you voted against her. What camp does he have?
What I'll tell you, Arnold, is that there is no way we can oversight the government, for example, unless we have harmony. And harmony, first of all, is one. And secondly, is a coordinated assembly that works together towards that goal.
That I give you.
So what are we doing now? We are stepping back temporarily
to ensure
clean up the mess first and develop this machinery in the manner in which it should be so that now we can move forward. And that's what we are doing.
Is this disharmony, you being, fragmented and the mess, is it all Elachi or are there other people that you will pursue in your impeachment for the better of the city?
So if Elachi goes, everything will be okay?
Well, not exactly. She can't be the she's not the person carrying all the mess, really. That I can't say that.
So what else will you pursue? For
example, the County Assembly Service Board, as he's saying. I mean, when I listen to Arnold, that's probably an area we should be visiting.
Probably.
It should be visited. And maybe even we should change certain laws so that we make it a little bit more answerable.
It is.
More answerable
the County Assembly Services Board Act of 2017 gives you, it makes it very elaborate in how you can engage it. Why I've kept on asking this is that I've realized there is no reference to that board, yet it plays a very important role. Not just in the County Governments Act 2012, especially Section 17, but then I'm talking about a whole act about that act. And you guys are not making any reference to it.
In the County Governments Act.
In conclusion, because we have just maybe 3 minutes to conclude this, are you honest in your push for impeachment, or is it just for your comfort? Because as you've said, nothing else, it doesn't sound like it's about the Nairobian. It sounds like it's about you not being comfortable with someone who's arrogant as your manager.
Actually, Mark, to be very honest with you, it's all about the Nairobians. I'll tell you, politics is a very simple game. We don't deliver here in Nairobi, and we don't get elected. It's a simple partnership between us and the people. And the only way we can be able to deliver in terms of development in Nairobi and proper governance and so forth, and garbage collection, all these things, is only when we have a proper working system back at the assembly. We don't do anything ourselves really practically on the ground, but we implement these issues. We implement them through the governor. And for us to be able to engage the governor, our house must be in order. If I focus on my own little things that, like now, for example, they say we like going places.
Which is not bad. Which is not bad entirely.
And they are benchmarking trips, and some of them are really, really, really important. But nevertheless, if we focus on that, then what we are doing really, we are being short-sighted. If we are not seeing beyond 2022. You cannot be elected in this Nairobi, my friend, including the governor. In fact, particularly the governor. If the governor being the very head of this county, and us guys being elected at the member of county level.
But you gave him 14 days to return to Nairobi.
Agreeable. These things are going to happen. But I'm saying if they don't, Arnold, I'm with you. We shall be punished at the end of the day, really.
Okay.
And I'm normal enough to know that that's not a good thing.
No turning back in terms of impeachment?
He said they can change their mind.
No. I said that the only people who can make us change our mind
are the
is
four
our
leaders.
leadership.
Good.
Because our leadership, and I like what you said. Yeah. They are clever guys, you call them.
I know them because
sharp guys, you said.
I know
brilliant.
them.
You used very many times.
I know them.
That is exactly what they are. Once they diagnose these things properly and cut it into pieces and rebuild it, they'll come up with a decision, and that's how we shall go.
All right. Your final comment.
My final comment on this Nairobi mess is just number one, that every war is solved in the boardroom. The basis and the premise upon which every war has been fought has been to get a bargaining ground when it comes to the boardroom. So even this war they are fighting, eventually when they get to sit down, the four leaders he speak about, some of them of whom I've worked with in some other spaces elsewhere, is that they then will have a bargaining ground that, we have already locked you out, so you have to give some concessions. But truth be told, that the Nairobi County Assembly and generally the Nairobi leadership has failed the people of Nairobi. We have got a woman rep who only shows up to show photos on social media when she's cycling. We have got a governor whom you can only see if you light up a fire. But on serious issues that pertains Nairobi, he's just about recording people on phone and doing drama, showmanship. But there is little to show because Nairobi has got a very good master plan. None of it is being adhered to. We are seeing a lot of games. Yes. We have got a senator who also is just doing drama, doing a lot of PR out there, showing up in football jerseys, looking a cool guy looking around there, but he cannot oversight the governor. Right. So we do not elect socialites or showmanship guys to go out there and show PR. We have got MCAs who also are good at working with the governor just to show solidarity. We did not send these guys there to become good. But if they are nasty the way they are nasty to the speaker, but they are nasty for the good of the people of Nairobi, they will have the support of the people of Nairobi.
All right.
So to wind up, I think the leadership in Nairobi must have a sit down amongst themselves, organize themselves, and then deliver for Nairobians. You still have got 4 years to go. And we have got a lot of hope in you people because, honestly, it's one of the best leaderships we've had.
And they have their work cut out for them. Thank you, Arnold Maliba, for your thoughts on this, and really appreciate he's a public policy analyst, and Mheshimiwa from Ngando ward here in Dagoretti South constituency, Bwana Peter Wahinya. Thank you for your thoughts, and also threw in some thoughts on this issue of the Sharon Otieno murder. We hadn't prepared you for that, but thank you as well.